Meet His Excellency, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, a towering figure who dominated Kenyan politics for decades, leaving an incredible mark on the nation's history as a champion of democracy, a five-time presidential candidate, and a former prime minister. Raila's story is one of resilience, determination, and unwavering commitment to the Kenyan people. Raila Odinga was born at the Anglican Church Missionary Society Hospital in Maseno, Kisumu district of Nyanza province on the 7th of January 1945. His parents were Mary Juma Odinga and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who served as the first vice president under Jomo Kenyatta. He went to Kisumu Union Primary, Maranda Primary in Bondo, and Maranda High School until 1962, where he was transferred to Germany by his father. He spent 2 years at the Herder Institution, which trained foreign students in German language, and was part of the philological faculty at the University of Leipzig in East Germany. He received a scholarship that in 1965 sent him to Otto von Guericke, and in 1970 he graduated with a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Baptized as an Anglican Christian in the Church Missionary Society, in his childhood, Raila Odinga became a born-again Christian. Odinga was married to Ida Odinga. They lived in Karen, Nairobi, and had a second home in Siaya County. The couple was blessed with 4 children: the late Fidel Castro Odinga, born in 1973 and passed away in 2015, Rosemary, born in 1977, Raila Jr., born in 1979, and Winnie, born in 1990. In the 70s and 80s, Odinga was politically active and supported government reforms in Kenya. In 1982, he was accused of plotting against President Moi and his government and was imprisoned without trial for 6 years. After his release, he was twice arrested again for campaigning against one-party rule, and in 1991 he sought refuge in Norway with his sister. He returned to Kenya in 1992 and was elected as a member of the National Assembly that year under the banner of Ford Kenya, a party led by his father. In 1996, he left Ford Kenya and joined National Development Party (NDP). Odinga started his presidential bid in 1997, which will be the first of 5 unsuccessful attempts, the other 4 being in 2007, 2013, 2017, and 2022. In 1997, Odinga stood unsuccessful as the NDP's candidate for election as President of Kenya, but was able to retain his seat in the National Assembly. Together with his party NDP, Raila Odinga gave his full support to the then President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi and the ruling party KANU. He joined Moi's cabinet as the energy minister in 2001 as NDP was absorbed into the ruling party. This agreement made Raila Odinga its Secretary General and increased his hopes of becoming Moi's successor as KANU's candidate for presidency in 2002. These dreams were shattered when Moi called upon the party to support Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the son of former President Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Several KANU members, including Raila Odinga, formed the Rainbow Alliance within the party to protest the choice of Uhuru Kenyatta. When their pleas went unheeded, Raila Odinga and the Rainbow Alliance later left KANU and formed the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. LDP joined the coalition of several other parties, the National Alliance of Kenya, to form the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC, under the leadership of former Vice President Mwai Kibaki. In December 2002, Kibaki was elected as the first non-KANU president in the independent Kenyan history. NAC candidates, including Raila, won more than half of the seats in the National Assembly. Odinga had played a significant role in securing the election of Kibaki, who later appointed him as the Minister of Roads, Public Works and Housing. Problems started brewing between LDP and NAK, leading to the collapse of the National Rainbow Coalition in 2006. This led to Mr. Odinga forming the Orange Democratic Movement (ODM) party and Kibaki forming the Party of National Unity (PNU) months prior to the 2007 presidential elections. Odinga won a resounding majority in December 2007 legislative elections. The provisional results of the presidential election indicated that Mr. Odinga would be victorious. However, when the final election results were released, after delays, Kibaki was declared the winner by a narrow margin. Odinga disputed the outcome and international observers questioned the validity of these results. Widespread protests ensued throughout the country and degenerated into horrific acts of violence which saw more than 1,000 people killed and over 600,000 others displaced. In February 2008, former UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan and Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, chairman of AU, brokered an agreement between Kibaki and Odinga, which led to Odinga being sworn in on April 17, 2008 in the newly created post of Prime Minister under Kibaki's presidency. In the run-up to the 2013 elections, Odinga's ODM formed the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy (CORD) with Kenyan Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Democratic Movement, where they campaigned for posts as president and vice president respectively. In 2017, Odinga's ODM party and other parties allied to form the National Super Alliance, NASA. This alliance backed Odinga for president and Musyoka for deputy president in the upcoming elections. The elections were held in August 8, 2017, and before the results were announced, Odinga and NASA members alleged that the IEBC server had been hacked and called the elections a charade. When the results were released, IEBC announced Kenyatta to be the winner of these elections with more than 54% of the votes, and that Odinga trailed him with almost 45%. In early March 2018, Odinga and Kenyatta reconciled by grasping hands, an act that became popularly known as the handshake. Odinga went to work with Kenyatta on the BBI, Building Bridges Initiative. In 2021, Odinga declared his candidacy for president in the 2022 elections. He was running as the candidate of Azimio la Umoja Alliance, which included ODM and Kenyatta's Jubilee's party. He also chose Martha Karua as his running mate. Odinga faced three other candidates in the August 9, 2022 presidential elections, including William Ruto, David Mwaure, and George Wajakoya. Shortly after the results were released on August 15th, Odinga's election agent said that they could not verify the results and had reports of election malpractices but did not provide details. This was closely followed by 4 of the 7 IEBC commissioners refusing to validate the presidential election results, saying that they were unable to do so because the final stage of tabulation was quote-unquote opaque. Regardless, they were announced and Ruto was announced as the winner, with 50.49% of the votes to Raila's 48.85%. Odinga rejected the results and on August 22nd, he filed a petition to the Supreme Court. The judges rejected Raila Odinga's allegations, saying that they had no credible evidence of fraud, and they stated that the election was upheld. In March 2025, Raila's ODM party joined the broad-based government through a memorandum of understanding with William Ruto's UDA. The move followed weeks of nationwide youth-led protests marked as the Gen Z protests. Raila Odinga emphasized that his support for the government was temporary and aimed at stabilizing Kenya, with the understanding that ODM's participation would last until 2027. Odinga's health history leading up to 2025 was marked by several conditions including diabetes, hypertension, chronic kidney disease, deep vein thrombosis, and subdural hematoma. On the 15th of October 2025, Odinga was taking a morning walk when he suddenly collapsed. Despite extensive CPR efforts and emergency medical interventions, he could not be revived. He sadly died at the age of 80 years old. When news broke on October 15, 2025 that veteran politician Raila Odinga had died while receiving medical care in India, the country was moved to instant mourning. In 4 days, the country saw repatriation, public viewings, a state funeral, and a procession to Odinga's ancestral home in Bondo. On October 15th, Kenyan and international media reported on Raila Odinga's death. The announcement set a tight timeline as Raila had wished to be buried in not more than 72 hours of his passing. On October 16th, the casket carrying his remains arrived at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and was taken to Kasarani International Stadium for public viewing. On October 17th, a formal state funeral was held at Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi, attended by political leaders, diplomats, and thousands of mourners. On October 18th, his body was flown to Kisumu for public viewing at Jomo Kenyatta Stadium. The visibly emotionally overwhelmed supporters fainted as they struggled to come to terms with his passing. His body was later flown to Bondo. On October 19th, Raila Odinga was laid to rest at his Opoda farm in Bondo, Siaya County, about 60 kilometers west of Kisumu, attended by his family members and a few guests, marking the end of an era. Known by many names including the Enigma, Jacom, Tinga, Joey, Baba, Agwambo, and officially as the Right Honorable Engineer Raila Amolo Odinga. May his soul rest in peace, and in the words of his daughter Winnie, the king has died, but the crown lives forever.